What's up, everybody? It's Rusty here with Budget Vintage. I got a pretty cool one for you here today. So, as some of you that are in the Discord probably already know, on Monday of this week, which today's Wednesday, so that was 2 days ago, we did our first Spelltable tournament. I think it was a huge success. We had 8 people come out to it digitally. Which is a great turnout for a first tournament on a Monday night. I'm really happy with that, especially when people have to jump through hoops, like actually having their cards and having a spell table set up and being willing to learn what spell table and match arena are. For those of you that don't know, spell table is, I think it's an official WotC product. It's a computer, it's a website, I guess is what it is, where you can use either a phone or a webcam pointed down at your desk, and you can play actual physical paper Magic cards, and it'll share your screen to someone else. It's got like some additional interface, like it'll look up cards, you can search cards on it. It's got life trackers, poison trackers, stuff like that. I think it gained a lot of popularity for the EDH crowd over the pandemic. But anyway, we're using it to kind of start doing some online tournaments for $30 budget vintage, which is really exciting because up until this point, I feel like anyone who is not in the Kentucky, Ohio, like Cincinnati area was going to have a really hard time playing unless they got like a pot of their own friends to play. But now, with us moving on to regular online tournaments, wherever you are, wherever you're watching from, you can join in and play with us. I think Monday nights are going to be the best nights. I think starting around 6:30 Eastern time is probably going to work for me. I don't know how frequently we'll do it. Probably every month or every 2 weeks is probably what I expect. We just did one, so it'll probably be 3 or 4 weeks until we do the next one. But if you're interested, start thinking about getting your spell table set up together. Additionally, we used Matcherino to run the bracket. I was really happy with it. I do some arena peasant cubes that we do tournaments on there. I commentate them with my friend Scuffle Deluxe, who's a VTuber. Excellent limited content. If you like that, definitely check him out. I'll actually include a link to his Twitch page, assuming I okay it with him, in the YouTube video. Super cool streamer, very educational, very good at limited, and like I said, he orchestrates monthly subscriber tournaments, which are often a peasant cube that we designed on Arena. You do the drafts on a website and then import your deck list to Arena and then use Matcherino to run the brackets. And then he and I commentate. It's been really fun. We do those about once a month. So if you're interested in that, keep your eyes and ears peeled. I think Joe has played in one. And just yesterday, actually, we went out to Madry, which is a local bar near us, and we got to do a draft of my paper peasant cube with 8 people. I think everyone had a really good time. Those of you that did draft it, the Arena Peasant Cube is modified off of that paper list. Very similar archetypes, very similar power bands and whatnot. But you guys are probably not here to listen to that because this is a $30 budget vintage channel, so let's talk about $30 budget vintage. Like I said, this was our first online tournament. There were some... really there were no bumps. It went great. It took me a little while to get my footing as far as figuring out how I might like record and commentate. I didn't do this one like streamed anywhere. I want to in the future. I just have never streamed live before. I don't know if you guys can tell by the quality of the content. I've never done this before. All of this YouTube and videography stuff is new to me. I haven't made videos since 7th grade science class or something when we had to make a video for a project. So I'm kind of learning as I'm going, but I ended up getting some content that I thought was pretty good. It helped that Dave had a really good run with this deck that we're looking at, and had some really cool matches. So we'll touch on this deck really briefly. I mentioned it in the video some. Dave was at our Win-A-Taiga tournament on Saturday, and he was playing Mardu Pyromancer. He'd been talking a while about maybe cutting white, going straight red-black Pyromancer. Previously, he was on like Young Peasies, Bedlam Revelers, stuff like that, no Lurrus. Now it looks like we're just on black-red. Which I think is smart, and I've been calling this Pyromancer-less Pyromancer. I figure if Legacy gets Delver-less Delver, we get Pyromancer-less Pyromancer. And I think, honestly, at this point, Dave is just saying that Pyromancer is not where you want to be. These other cards are good enough threats when they're backed up by K-commands and unearths and discard effects and all that. So Dave went on a pretty good run with this. We have most of his games. We have most of his games, yeah. think. I might be missing one. I don't know. I was just thinking back at what footage I had. So I'm going to try and get this video up tonight. It's Wednesday, and then I'll follow up with the other matches, and then I also have some from a couple other perspectives that might make it to YouTube. That's all I'm really going to say about this. Bear with me as I kind of figure out how to display a couple of Spelltable videos. I think things will get nicer for the second video I release, and they should be even better next week. Also, one thing that I want to address, I don't see player hands. I think I mentioned this in the video too. I had headphones on because I was in a Discord call with the players, and I had volume turned way down on them, and I was listening. I do this motion when I was like listening to the players talk to each other. That gave me some additional context of the game, and I tried pretty hard to relay it to you guys. But I oftentimes kind of trailed off on a thought as the players started talking. So I don't know. Let me know what you think about this new type of content. Let me know what you want to see out of online tournaments going forward, how you'd like that structured. That's all I have. So Dave has been playing he's been playing actually Mardu Pyromancer for a little while. It's a list that looks pretty good. Actually, let me see if I can pull it up while they're shuffling and things. Give me 1 second, guys. I didn't think about doing this. Where did I put tournament results? Oh, here we go. Copy. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to use a computer again. Alright. So this has been medium content. But this is what Dave played on Saturday. It's a Mardu Young Pyromancer list. I love that he fit Manamorphose. And it looks like they are still sideboarding. I love that he fit Manamorphose, and that's crazy. And a 3-color deck, no less. But it's a Lurrus deck. Pretty good mana. It's built around like Young Pyromancer, Dragon's Rage Channeler. The white is for Swords to Plowshares, Lingering Souls, which is nice to discard as well. And I think some sideboard cards. Yeah, Containment Priests. We've been talking, and I think he's leaning towards becoming straight black-white, which is what we see today. So we're going to be mostly watching from Dave's perspective. I'm going to turn Dave down a little bit. And so for those of you who are wondering why every once in a while I look really confused, I don't see player hands. So to have a little bit more context of what's happening, I've got player audio in Discord. I'm in a call with them, and I've muted myself so they can't hear me. Right, Dave? Yeah, Dave, you can't hear me. So I'm listening to them really quiet while also trying to commentate. That's a tapped Smoldering Marsh, and Dave's passing it over to Riley. Riley's making a second land drop. Let me full screen this. Look at that. Alright, that's a Mog War Marshal. 2 mana, 1/1 Echo. When it enters the battlefield or dies, we're going to make a Goblin token. Now, you guys might not have seen this if you're new to the channel. Riley's been playing black-red Goblins for kind of a while, let's be honest. I think the deck fell out of favor for a while because Riley got interested in some other decks like Miracle Grow and then back to Dredge. But red-black Goblins is really powerful. It's obviously it's tribal Goblins, but it's got pretty powerful combo finishes that are powered out via Skirk Prospector and Runebelt Hordemaster. Very similar to the Fecundity Skirk Prospector deck that there's actually a deck tech for on the YouTube channel. But I think that his deck has a better fair game plan in addition to the combos, as well as being black instead of green gives you access to disruption in your sideboard. So I think that means that you can have a better game plan against unfair decks. So I think if you're going to play Goblins, my guess is that red-black is the way to go. And what Riley just did is he resolved a Goblin Matron on turn 3, and he tutored a Muxus Goblin Grandy to his hand. Now, I'm actually going to try to pull this one up. I know it's a little confusing. Oh, I can just do this, can't I? Muxus. Goblin Grandy. I have a bunch of chords all over the place. Bear with me. Audio might falter. Oh my god. So what Eddie just did is, or sorry, not Eddie, what Dave just did is he cast a Dread Fugue, which is a card that doesn't see enough play in our format. And I believe he cleaved it and forced Riley to discard Muxus Goblin Grandy. So this card is like a variant Inquisition of Kozilek. It's 1 mana to take a 2-drop, or you can pay more mana and get anything. So Eddie did kind of, or sorry, I gotta stop doing that. This is Dave, not Eddie. Yeah, Dave had to spend a lot of mana there, but he was able to Thoughtseize that Muxus out of his hand. Which means that Riley's not going to have necessarily the powerful like Skirk Prospector into Muxus combo. But there's still a Goblin War Chief and a Goblin token over there, and Dave is taking some damage. Now, I think Dave might be able to stabilize. Wow, Rixmati Reveler. I think this card's really powerful. We were talking about this a lot during our Win-A-Buy. Rixmati Reveler. Oh, there's parentheses. Riley has never seen it before. Rixmati? Alright. Once I find this, you guys are going to understand why this is so hard. Reveler. Alright, I was never getting it like that. That was so difficult. So it's a 2-mana 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, you rummage, which is discard then draw, and it's got Spectacle for 4, and you discard your hand and draw 3. So if you're like a hellbent aggressive black-red deck, you could say that this is our format's Kroxa, sort of. Probably not. It's not like that at all. Does anyone know, are you able to Spectacle the Rixmati Reveler off of a Lurrus? I'm not sure. Oh, nice. So Riley just played a Munitions Expert and dealt damage equal to his number of goblins to the Rixmati Reveler, which killed it. And then Dave cast a Lightning Bolt and bolted the Goblin War Chief, which stopped some tokens from having haste, which saved Dave a little bit of life here. I think Riley's on 1 card in hand. I gotta say, it looked bad for a while. Wow. And Dave Turok's the last card out of Riley's hand. It's a Skirk Prospector, which on its face doesn't seem like a particularly strong card, but enables some pretty degenerate stuff in this deck. Now here we're seeing the Echo Cost on Mog War Marshal get paid. The only time you do that is when you need every resource at your disposal and speed's not an issue. And it looks like after doing that, Riley ripped a land, which is not good for Riley. I gotta be honest, I was bouncing around earlier and attack with everything. So I think that's just pushing damage through. Dave's got a 3/2 Turok, and I think that Turok is just going to be able to... It's 5 damage is what I'm hearing. So 3 tokens and 2 goblins. So what we're seeing here is Riley being willing to sack 1 goblin for 4 damage, and this is kind of like when someone resolves an early Empty the Warrens, and they just have a bunch of goblins, and they don't care about your blockers, they're just sending them forward. Because when you have 5 goblins in play, and that's the sum total of your resources, what else are you going to do? So we know that based on the math, if nothing else changes and Riley attacks next turn, Dave will block 1 and take 3 going to 6, then he'll block 1 and take 2 and go to 4, then he'll block 1 and take 1. So I think Dave's in a stable position, and this Dragon Rage Channeler... Wow, I was going to say the DRC would stabilize, and Dave actually attacks with his 3/2 Turok, which I would not have done. I would have sat back, but I'm a coward. Okay, so I'm hearing things you aren't. I know that pre-Kolaghan's command, there were only 3 card types for DRC, so it's not mad. And during Riley's draw step, Dave just cast a Kolaghan's command to make him discard the card he drew, which looks to be another Goblin War Chief, and blew up one of the tokens. Now, I'm still not sure I love this attack with Turok. I think it might have been a touch aggressive, because if Riley sends for 3 here, are you trading the DRC for a Goblin, or are you just going to take 3? I think, not knowing the context of Dave's hand or where the surveil... Okay, it looks like he surveilled the DRC off of the Kolaghan's command trigger. Again, I don't know what's in hands. I know Riley's empty-handed. I'm gonna do this symbol here, like I'm a reporter. I'm gonna do this when I'm listening to a player. Okay. Dave is flashing back Faithless Looting. I see at least 2 cards in his hand. Did he miss his DRC trigger? No, we're surveilling right now. He surveils to the top, draws the card he looked at and another card, and now he'll pitch 2. 2 mountains. We're now delirious, and if we want to, we can actually attack for 1, 2, 3, 4. We can attack for 7 damage. Note the Turok. Oh no. He unearthed another 3/3 DRC. Turok is actually now a 4-drop, or a 4-power creature. Okay. Riley's taken 3 damage in the air, falling to 14, and Turok was chump blocked by a Mog War Marshal, which triggered and gave Riley another token, and that's a Sling Gang off the top. It's a 4-mana 1/1, I believe, that comes with 2 Goblin tokens, and you can sacrifice a Goblin to drain your opponent. Now, there's no flying on Riley's side of the board. Riley's thinking about attacking. 5 Goblins? Riley has 6 damage on board. So 3 Goblins are sending. Dave blocks 1, takes 2 damage off attacks, and the one that was blocked is sacked to Sling Gang, so that's going to drain. Dave falls to 6, and there's currently 5 damage and Goblins on board. That Sling Gang was massive. I didn't realize just how many tokens Riley had access to. It looks like this game might be slipping out of Dave's reach. I don't know what it's in his hand, but I think he needs a burn spell for the Sling Gang Lieutenant right now. And his DRCs are forced to attack. So even if he has a burn spell for Sling Gang Lieutenant, if you try to bolt the Lieutenant... Sorry, I don't want to miss the conclusion of this game. This is exciting. Let's go back to Dave's perspective. We're going to combat. DRCs are forced to attack. Confirms that Riley's hellbent. And I think the question here is attacking with the Turok good somehow? Unfortunately, I think the answer is no. I think it gets chump blocked and then the Goblin gets sacrificed. Attack for 6 in the air because we have to. Guys, it turns out that Dragon's Rage's Channeler does have a downside, and it looks like the Turok's going too. Dave's going to need something really good in hand. We're attacking for 10. As expected, we block sack on Turok. That's a 1-point life swing. They just updated here. Dave is at 5. Dave is currently dead to attacks plus a sacrifice. Dave has to have... maybe he has a sideboard card, right? Maybe he's got... Okay, Dave's passing the turn. Maybe it's just a never surrender. Make your opponent show you. Okay. We're draw stepping another K command, and the modes on K command are discard the card you drew and kill your Sling Gang Lieutenant. Now, that means that Riley has to do any sacrificing he's going to do now, at this moment. If he sacrifices all 4 of his goblins, Dave is going to live at 1 life. Now, Riley will be at 14 and potentially have time to draw out of it, but Riley's got to decide how many goblins stay back on defense and how many get sacrificed to exchange for life points. Now, how good are the goblins on board? I'm not really sure, because Dave's clock right now is predicated on 2 DRCs, and if you look in his graveyard, I see lightning bolts, I see K commands. We've seen at least 7 points of burn already, so you got to think there's more where that came from. I think the camera's still going, sort of. I think we're just in the tank here. Just drain 1, okay. Now, Pyrokinesis discarded? Wow. And Riley was 1 mana off of being able to hard cast that Pyrokinesis in response, which would have been an absolute... I don't even know if it would be a beating, right? It would kill a DRC. Oh wait, Pyrokinesis would have killed Dave. So Riley was 1 mana away from just winning the game with that top deck Pyrokinesis, right? It's 4 damage to any target. I can't believe it. And then Riley attacks with 1 goblin. I think we're representing 1 goblin untapped and 1 goblin tapped, 2 goblins untapped. Now, I think that's to block Turok, even if there's a removal spell. Riley just mentions to his opponent that he was 1 mana away from hardcasting Pyrokinesis to win the game. That's brutal. I can't imagine being in that seat. Now, Dave's got 4 mana available. DRCs are forced to attack. That's 6 damage. That's a 2-turn clock. So, the way I see the game state, Team DRC has Goblins dead in 2 attacks in the air, right? Because Goblins is Hellbent with 3 on the ground. If we leave Turok home, then we could die to a removal spell. How big is Turok? So Turok has 5 power. If we send Turok, Riley is forced to chump block. That means a Turok on offense is as good as a Turok on defense. Right? It makes sense to me. So I think I don't know the content of Dave's hand. I don't know the contents of Dave's deck either. I think he... Tapping mana. That's good for Team DRC. If you're a DRC enjoyer, you're hoping that Dave's 2 cards do something. And I gotta say, he's had multiple Surveils and a Faithless Looting. I think his hand should be good. I'm gonna take a second and check my bracket, by the way. Okay, so we are technically at time in the round, but I don't think anyone's gonna complain. I really want to see the end of this game. So the Turok did attack and force a chump block. Riley's down to 2 goblins. And it looks like Dave cast an Inquisition just for the... No, Dave didn't cast anything. Now, Riley asks the question, do you have a 3rd K command? Doesn't fit the budget, just 2 in the deck. Now, Riley rips the mountain, and Dave takes it down. That was a great game. I'm going to pause here and do some TO stuff, but I think I might get that on YouTube. That was great.